Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Yeah, here I am. Sorry. Sorry for disappearing on you. Oh, man. It's going to take a while to catch you up on what's been going on. I don't even know where to start. Anyway, I hope you're there. I'm glad to be here, and here is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Just to set us in time, March 6th. So I did spend much of the time since last I spoke to you in my hometown of Green Bay, Wisconsin, managing to drive up there in between two, what around here would be considered big snow and ice storms, and which there is just, well, par for the course. It is amazing the way that people who are used to winter weather don't blink much when it occurs, and how, well prepared, obviously, communities are for for handling it. So that was sort of an interesting thing. Although I did realize that I had a memory of everybody always somehow managing after every snowfall, being responsible, community-minded folk and clearing their sidewalks. And this time, walking my dog, I discovered that this new generation of even Green Bay folk do not necessarily do that. Most do, but an awful lot don't, which would have been unheard of when I was younger. And I do think the only difference is a sense of responsibility to others and concern for their safety, and also keeping up with the Joneses. I mean, it was clear that that's what you were to do. So I always blamed it on, folks around here not clearing their side, but I think it's generational, and the way that we as a people have moved away from a sense of caring about each other. But what do I know? That's just my opinion. Okay. So I had intended to do the show from Green Bay last week, but by the time I got there, things were so, those storms that I talked about, which just winged you here, right? Because I don't see any snow on the ground here. I don't see any ice. So you missed out on, whoa. So to the east of Green Bay, my brother in Ann Arbor, Michigan, got hammered by the same storm, only this was ice. And he ended up, tell me if this has ever happened to you, because it hasn't happened to me and I don't want it to. He ended up, because of like 3/4 of an inch of ice on the trees, on the poles, on the wires, with the resulting damage, he ended up without electricity, which of course happens for a day, maybe, but for another day, and a third day, and a fourth day. Now, without heat, without electricity, without light, in the middle of winter is a daunting thing. I have pictures of my sister-in-law huddled in her bed, which is pretty much where she stayed, with 3 cats, a dog, and I mean, just all the animals, biped and quadrupeds, miserable and seeking warmth. But the darkness was even more of an issue. Anyway, he has only one eye now. I don't even know. That's a whole other story. He ends up driving in, and a friend from here ends up coming in. And my mom is over 100 years old, and she's not as spry as she used to be, although she's still amazing for someone her age. But she requires, I ended up, having to cook and stuff. And when I end up with these kinds of responsibilities, and of course, there was not as much access to news or even the time to think. So there was no way I was going to be able to give you, the kind of what I hope to think is usually considered opinion and be able to do an hour that was not a total waste of your time. So I just said, can't do it. Just can't do it. So that's why I disappeared like that. And then, I'm sorry, the plot thickens. So my friend from Pittsburgh who was in was concerned about getting back out since we were getting hit by another ice storm. Ice, snow, ice, sleet, rain, snow, ice. They call it a wintry mix. And it went on and on and on and on. And so you had layers of snow and layers of ice and snow and ice and snow. And we had intended to go out and do a little, well, here's where we were going, I have to tell you. Costco. Now, there's a Costco here, I understand. But see, the Costco in Wisconsin, because Wisconsin is not crazed about liquor the way Pennsylvania is, Costco's in Wisconsin and other states carry alcoholic beverages. And I had once brought my friend a huge bottle of vodka, that like really good vodka that sells for next to nothing. And I said, we had planned. I said, let's go get a bunch of vodka. We can hand it out when we're back in Pittsburgh as gifts to people. I mean, it's a nice gift. But the thing is, it was like an ice rink outside. But we thought, what the hell? So off we went. And amazingly, yeah, it was clear that even the folks in Green Bay were mostly staying off the roads. The roads were, at that time, an ice rink. But, if you go 15, 20 miles per hour, slowly but surely, you make it to Costco. Then you skate in, you get your vodka, you skate back out. By the time we came out, it was snowing again, which was wonderful because that then gives a layer of, you got some tread. So anyway, we made that trip and we made it alive. Intrepid. Let other people go out for toilet paper and milk. So we came back with these 6 huge bottles of vodka, 2 of which are still in my, 2 of which made their way to Ann Arbor, 2 of which are here, and 2 of which are in my mother's house, as my 100-year-old mother does like her vodka. At 5 o'clock. So the next thing was we decided to venture out again. The storm was getting worse. This was stupid. But we went to a shoe store. This is a long story, and I'm not going to. It's the greatest shoe store in the world. I mean it. There's nothing here that can compare with the quality of the stuff. And it's not like you wouldn't go there for a pair of stilettos. It's a shoe store for people in Wisconsin, which means it's shoes. It's good shoes, hiking shoes and walking shoes and warm boots and slippers and wondrous stuff. So we went there. I bought up a whole bunch of stuff, which was my intention. Since I'd driven, I could just put them in the car and drive them all my new shoes back. There's also another reason. You have known that I've been having some health issues, and one of them is I have a foot that has been is pathetic. There's a movie that's been made about it, actually, called My Left Foot. Oh, that's true. That was not about my left foot. That was a good movie, though. Daniel Day-Lewis, didn't he win an Academy Award? He damn well should have for that. My Left Foot. Anyway, it turns out my left foot is for shit and has been for most of my life. As I've gotten old, it has continued to deteriorate to the point where not too long ago, a doctor here said that I needed an ankle replacement. And I thought, what? I know they're doing hips and knees and a shoulder or two, but a friggin' foot? I mean, it's a lot more complicated, right? The thought of it just terrorized me. So I sought out another opinion, and nobody's got a good one, but some aren't quite as quick to, do the surgery. So I have a brace that is a custom-made brace to wear, and I also have custom-made orthotics, which I had just gotten before my trip. Don't worry, this is going someplace. The orthotics to get me to sort of maybe walk in a way that might prevent my having to have ankle replacement surgery were so sort of thick and big that there ain't no way that any of my shoes, my current shoes, all my shoes, do you know how many shoes women have? Now, the heels and the pretty shoes, I pretty much long ago gave up on. But even my ugly shoes couldn't handle these orthotics. So that is why I had, intent. Ice, sleet, impending vehicular death, didn't matter. I had to get to this shoe store. Had to. Because I needed an entirely new, I needed shoes these big, and when I went in, this very nice man, thank God, I knew I was trying to explain to him, blah, 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 but he said, I understand. You don't want to be stuck in really ugly old lady shoes. I said, right. They can be kind of ugly, but they can't be totally they can't be those. Please, it can't have come to this. And so we were in there sometime. By the time we got out with 20 boxes of shoes, it was a skating rink again, and we were much farther from it. I don't know how I got to the car without killing myself. But I did. I had the shoes, and good to go. I've got one of them on right now. I do. That evening, after surviving all of that evening, man, was it beautiful. The snow was finally stopping. You know what it looks like. I mean, it is, the trees were covered. There'd already been, I mean, there was over 1.5 feet of snow already on the ground. It just was this glorious, beautiful. And it brings back, my childhood comes, looks like the winters of my youth. And it was because it had been, I said to my friend, I said, man, we should do a snowman. This is perfect. Snowman snow. Perfect. Real packy. We should at least have a snowball fight. She demurred. It was about, I think, 8:00 at night, and I decided to take the dog for a walk. I put on my, these yak tracky things that, grip, and off I went. We went around this little circle of, it's a square of it. It's a circle. It's called Picard Circle, but it forms a square of streets. And my family home is at the corner of one. So it's like a 4-block walk, and none of the blocks are particularly long. And I'll tell you a problem for dogs in this kind of weather. They can't find a place to poop. They can't. They wanna, but the snow's so high that they can't get it. They can't. And even, I mean, watching my poor dog try to find a place to poop was really, it was sad because dogs are particular. I mean, they are. Any dog owner knows, that, and then they have to, once they find a place, they often, they do that back and forth thing, and then the sort of going around thing. And, I've never seen why they do the kind of choreographed little canine about to poop thing. I'm not sure what that's all about, but any dog owner can tell when their dog is starting that dance. Oh, good. She's going to poop. It's just a slight slowing down before the back and forth, before the circular stuff, before the stoop, the squat, whatever that is. Anyway, it was really sad because he was struggling. He really, really was. But we went around. I saw it was so quiet. You know how quiet snow makes it? It blankets everything, and the sound, the silence is a different kind of silence. The beauty was just mind-blowing. And the moon was like so bright. And I looked up, and my God, there were these 2 huge stars like right next to it. I thought, what the fuck? Look at that. It was like, I was going to make a Christian reference about the birth of Jesus, but I mean, it was like, what? And I only found out later what that was. That was Jupiter and Venus about to kiss. I think it might have been a day before the kiss because they were almost together. So anyway, a glorious night. And when I got back to the house, I said to my friend, I said, it is so, I forgot to tell you, I took a picture because I thought there was one other person out. It was a guy, and he had a snowblower. And around there, snowblowers make sense. People who have snowblowers here, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. But up there, you have to have one. You don't have to have one. We never did, but whatever. And this guy doesn't have much of a driveway, but it's a driveway that, believe me, the entire neighborhood of Picard Circle knows all too well. Because this guy moved into the neighborhood about 4 years ago and proceeded to make his house look like it belonged in, what can I say without being, let's just say it didn't look like any of the other houses, even though it always had before. It was the same house that had been there since I lived there. But all of a sudden, the garage door was always open. The interior of the garage was filled with every manner of it was like people would gape. And then there were like easily 4 cars at any given time in this, not particular. They were parked into filling up the driveway. And the cars were like neon orange or puke green. But that wasn't the real problem. The problem was they went rum, 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 and they did it at like 2 a.m. So this very quiet, sort of like 50s Ozzie and Harriet kind of neighborhood. When this family moved in, they were like immediately, not particularly welcome. Anyway, I never met the guy. I'd heard him, God knows. But when I saw the snowblower he had, I thought, this is a riot. I have never seen this is a snowblower that a guy who buys 7,000 cars that make a lot of noise would definitely be attracted to. And so I had my phone with me, and I had taken a picture of him and his snowblower. The snowblower, I don't know what to tell you. The snowblower was like a big snowblower, but it had a hood. It had like an entire contraption that went up like a big windshield, and the windshield went around to protect his side and over his head. So he was standing as he's pushing this snowblower in like this amazing glass igloo. I'd never seen such a thing. And the snow was flying in an arc, and so I took a picture. And then I went back and raved to my friend about it. It's so beautiful out, you can't imagine. And she said, oh, I should have come with you. And I said, I'd go around again. Come on, it's so beautiful. So she got her boots on. The dog was happy. We're doing it again. Out we go. And so around we went. This time all was totally quiet. Snow blowing was done. And as we're coming down, it's a hill. As a matter of fact, this is a hill that plays, his house is at almost the bottom of the hill of Picard Circle. And it's a hill that figures prominently in my life because I almost died there when I was 6 years old. I kid you not. And I'm sure at some point I must have told the story of getting this new bike that actually had handbrakes way before I should have. Indifferent parenting. I tell you today, you'd sue your parents for buying you that bike. So anyway, I had been on the bike and I'd lost control of the bike and had whizzed past what, 70 years later would be this guy with the snowblower's house and went into the driveway at the bottom of the street, directly into the garage door. And my head flew through one of those little 9 by 12 inch, garage windows where they're like, 5 of them in a row. My head right straight through. And I won't get into, but I really almost died. And to this day, the kind of issues that were created by that horrific accident have continued to impact my health. It's bizarre how that kind of thing happens. So I'm almost at the site of my, near-death experience, which always freaks me out. Every time I see it, I think, oh, wow. Because I have such a vivid memory of all the events, obviously, that transpired. I had managed to pull myself. I had been impaled on the glass. My feet were off the ground. My bike was on the ground. I was hanging by a shard of glass up through my, isn't that disgusting? Sorry. And I had probably gone out for a second, but when I came to, I was looking in. Well, I knew who lived there, Patty Danaher's garage. Very neat garage, unlike the aforementioned garage. And so I pushed myself, and in pushing myself off, I really ripped my entire neck open, whatever. So I am gushing blood, and I run to Patty Danaher's. I'm banging. Nobody's home. I run to the next house. Bang, help me. And some old woman who was just eating her dinner came to the door, took one look at me, and slammed the door in my face. Saying something like, "You kids!" I kept banging. She reopened the door and reassessed and decided it wasn't a prank with ketchup spilled all over me. So obviously when I'm walking on Pickard Circle, I mean, it's just like a lot of history there for me. So we're almost at the scene of my near-death experience. My dog, who's off leash, is bounding around in the snow. My friend and I are enjoying ourselves. And all of a sudden I see headlights coming around the curve. And I screamed for my dog, "Blue!" I said, just to make sure he was Blue. And as I turned to scream for Blue, I slipped. The friggin' ice finally got me. But of course it was Pickard Circle, almost at the garage. Why the hell shouldn't I go down? The car stopped. The guy in the car got out, came over, said, "Oh my gosh." He said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I could use some help." And he gives me his arm, but that ain't good enough. I can't put. And so he takes me in his arm. And I'm big. And he pulled me up, and I'm bigger than him. And he said, "Whoa." He said, "Can you walk?" I said, "I don't think so." And he helped me to his car and put me in his passenger seat. I said to my friend, "Just walk Blue home. He's taking me." Okay. I realize as I get in his car and look at him, it's the guy whose picture I'd taken just moments before, and I was in one of the loud cars. Vroom, vroom. It was the snowblower guy that nobody likes. My hero. And I said to him, "Thank you so much." I said, "My house is just around the corner there." And as we went around the corner, I said, "It's that red brick house at the end." He said, "Oh, that's my daughter's favorite house." I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, I grew up there." And we start talking. And we ended up having such a fun conversation. I ended up feeling like he was my best friend. We were hugging each other before this thing was over. He said to me, by the way, He spoke like this. And I said, "Where'd you come from?" And he said, "Arkansas." And then he said that he'd been in the military, well, National Guard, but military all my life. I was over in, fought this and that. And I said, "What the heck brought you to Green Bay?" And he said, "That's a good question." And then he went into something about God. And I thought, oh, Lord. It didn't make any sense what he said to me. He didn't tell me it was a job. It was weird. He said, and I've often, he said, regretted moving up here with you Yankees. He said, because they don't like me here. I said, well, I don't think that's true. I think they don't like the loud cars. He said, I know they don't like the loud cars. I don't do that anymore. I don't know if a petition went up or something. So we were talking about that, and laughing and this and that and the other. So my hero, this was the Trumpiest guy you could ever imagine. And I ended up giving him such a hug. I adore him. He's my new best friend. He liked me too. So that was the good news. Anyway, believe me, there's more to the story. The end result, I broke my fibula. That's the skinny little bone on your leg. I broke my fibula right above the ankle that one Pittsburgh surgeon wants to cut out of my body and put in some titanium ankle. So the screwed up left foot, and I broke the big toe on it as well. So anyway, that. Oh, by the way, if you're emailing me, I can't get into my Gmail account right now. I'm sorry. I discovered that last night. Everything's sort of like, let's just say, if you want to in any way correspond right now, will you go to Cullen Show, all one word, Cullen Show, CULLENSHOW at yahoo.com. I am receiving emails there. My Gmail account says that it is temporarily unavailable. And believe me, its definition of temporary has lasted now about 16 hours. So I don't quite know what's going on. So anyway, I know that's a big, long story about nothing in particular, except I just had to tell you about the fact I broke my friggin' leg. So, I think is that the only thing I had to tell you? Yeah, and about the Gmail. Okay, well, now we can just continue. Oh, God. Life, when you're incapacitated to a certain degree, and all I've got is they put a boot. It's a boot. It's not a cast, so it can't be that bad a break. But just having a friggin' boot on. And by the way, all those shoes I bought, ha, 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 ha. I said earlier, I have one on. Did you hear that before? I have one on. That's all I got, because all the left foot, I ain't going to be wearing those for some time. So, whatever. Anyway. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And the ridiculous part is 24 hours later, I got in my car earlier than I had anticipated coming back, and I drove myself back to Pittsburgh. It was 11 hours because it was my left foot, thank God, my left foot. So here I am. I'm back and hobbled. Phew. So that's my story. And I'm trying to think what else we can talk about. I mean, a lot's happened, I know, and I'm trying to catch up. Hey, one of the great things I saw that's local, and I mean, I'm blown away by it, is that I guess the Allegheny County Democratic Committee held their, where they decide who they're endorsing. And one of the endorsements blew me away. It was not what you would have expected. They did not endorse District Attorney Stephen Zappala, who's one of them. He's as an old boy in that whole old boy network as you can be. Stephen Zappala wanting yet another firm. And finally being challenged by somebody who could maybe take him down. And damn if they didn't endorse Zappala's primary opponent, Dugan, who is the head of the public defender's office. And pretty progressive. I still don't understand it because for county exec, they sure went with the good old boy, John Weinstein. They're giving him all the money. They're giving him everything. But it could be in a general election, he could go down to the progressive inamorado. I don't know. I just going to be interesting. Interesting. I can never believe that Zappala would lose this endorsement. Now, the problem is that name is so ingrained in voters' heads, and a lot of them don't pay attention that, but still. So anyway, that was the good news I saw. The other news I saw that really pissed me off is that all the people who were running for county executive, and some with no chance, none, but everyone's entitled. It says you have to pay $7,500 to the Allegheny County Democratic Committee if you want to be considered for their frigging endorsement. It's a shakedown. And I don't know this woman. I don't know her name. One of the people running is a poor black woman. And she's going to all the forums and debates, and she's speaking out for poor black or poor people. And she said, what an outrage. She wasn't even, not that she would have gotten the endorsement, but that $7,500 ticket prevents people that don't have money from even being considered. It's outrageous. And it's one of the ways you keep marginalized people marginalized. I remember I was very new to Pittsburgh, be about 82, 83, maybe 82. And I was told by the news director at WTAE that he thought I should enter some of my work into the Emmy competition, the regional Emmy competition, which I think our region was Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, so it's just a big hunk of states with Pennsylvania to the west. And I said, oh, wow, an Emmy? Are you kidding? You guys give out Emmys? I said, sure. He said, well, you'll have to pay. And he said, you'll have to pay. I forget what it was. It wasn't $7,500 friggin' dollars. It might have been $100. I don't know, but whatever. He said you have to pay for each submission. He didn't say we'll pay like the station. You pay. And I thought, what the I said, I ain't paying. If my work is worthy of an Emmy, why should I pay? I'm not paying. And that was the end of that. Until, I don't know how many months later, I was informed that I'd won an Emmy. And I said, how's that possible? Because I didn't put anything in. Well, it turns out the station manager, Channel 4 manager, one James Hefner, had coughed up whatever the fee was, not that they'd ever offered to do it, and sent it in, my work. And damn if my work, didn't win the Emmy for feature reporting. Here's the thing. Guess whose name is on it? James Hefner won the award for feature reporting because he wrote the check. I stormed into his office. I said, I understand you have my Emmy. He, I thought begrudgingly, eventually gave it to me. Where I now have it, actually, I knocked it over once and it broke into pieces. So I have, there's a woman like holding a globe. She's sticking out of like a glass. And I have one of her wings is, well, I got it right here. Actually, it's in this little. So the Emmy's broken apart, and my name's on it anyway. So, oh, Gigi, thanks for writing me here at Cullen Show at yahoo.com. Oh. Gigi says, she enjoyed the story. Sorry to hear about the mishap. And she, too. She says, as you were describing dogs and their poop dances, I was watching my 4-month-old puppy do the dance. Yep. God bless them. God bless dogs. Best thing ever. Okay. So I forget. But so there was that. And there's a valid thing I am really excited about. And you got to believe that he is pissed off. You have a position of power like that for so long. You really think you own it. And, as we head into the primary, you get your real estate bill with John Weinstein. Yeah, there's his name in front of your face all the time. And the good old boys have given him all the money. And so he's on television commercials. You don't see anybody else. And, you talk about a bought position. That will do it unless a bunch of us give money to Sarah Inamorado because I think she's got a shot. Just saying. What? When I saw it, the New York Times has a story today. The New York Times has a big story on the sparrow. You know what I'm talking about? I remember her vividly. I don't think I ever did a story on her. She wasn't the only mentally ill person that frequented the downtown. I did do a story on one, Robert Lansbury, who used to wear a sandwich board that said that complained about the fact that the Postal Service was keeping his mail away from him. But he was a wonderful, sweet guy who heard voices in his head. And at the same time, she was down there, and she'd gone off the deep end religiously. So it was, the end is coming stuff. Little woman, always perfectly well dressed, her hair perfect. Her name was Patricia Kopta. Anyway, the headline in the New York Times today is "Woman Missing for 3 Decades is Found in Puerto Rico." I'm assuming you know the story. I don't know. She just up and disappeared in I don't know, what year was it? If it was 30 years ago, whatever. And I do remember that. I guess it was 1972. I mean, 1992, excuse me. 1792, right? 1992. And, this was, people were looking for her. I mean, believe me, her poor husband was looking for her for a long, long time. And after, I don't know how long, decades, he had her presumed dead. I mean, dead. That's what people do and just move on with their lives. Well, she ain't. She's in a home in Puerto Rico, and I guess there she will stay. No sense in moving her. She doesn't know where she is. Patricia Kopta, now 83. It was DNA that, wow. Some people's lives, I'm happy that at least her family knows now that she survived. I mean, for someone battling mental illness to get themselves to Puerto Rico, where she apparently always had wanted to go, so much so that her husband had even taken out at one time a missing persons ad in a Puerto Rican newspaper. Anyway, pretty amazing. I have got a obit. I have an obit. Didn't mean to scream that at you. Sorry. I have an obituary for you. Justin O. Schmidt. Like me, he was born in Wisconsin. Like me, he was 75. Unlike me, he's dead recently. But he also grew up in Pennsylvania, born in Wisconsin, but grew up in Boalsburg. I don't know where that is. Justin Schmidt. He ends up with this incredible, he's a scientist, ends up with this incredible career. He was actually, he was the answer or the question, or however you put it, to a Jeopardy clue this year. Now that, I'd die happy if my obit could say that, and it won't. Ain't no way I'm going to be a Jeopardy clue, but he was. He was an entomologist, insects. And he was so curious about insects and really started in his research wanting to understand why they do what they do. He got into venomous insects, like insects that sting. And in the course of his research, he used himself, because it's the kind of thing you don't ask anybody else to do. He used himself by allowing insects to sting him so he could have a sense of what happened when they did. Now, obviously not poison insects, but insects that hurt, really hurt. And he became famous because he ended up creating a pain scale of insect bites. And what's so amazing about his pain scale is what a great writer he is. What a vivid description he gives of the levels of kind of pain of each insect that he had. He figures he allowed himself to be stung over 1,000 times. And each time, after screaming and swearing and rolling around on the floor in agony, he would quickly write down what it felt like. And out of that, he eventually developed this level, this way of, well, it's a pain scale, I guess is the way you would put it, right? It was just a 1 to 4, although you could do it's a 1.2, it's a 1.3, but it's just 1 to 4. But listen to how brilliantly he describes the pain. Here's a 1, level 1, in the case particularly of being stung by something called an anthophorid bee. Level 1. He says, almost pleasant, like a lover just bit your earlobe a little too hard. Isn't that wonderful? How many scientists write like that? And yet, like a 1.5, this would be in the case of a bullhorn acacia ant. He gave it a 1.5, and he said, a rare, piercing, elevated sort of pain, like someone has fired a staple into your cheek. If that's a 1.5, what the hell is a 4? God. I'll give you a few more because, I think this is the most, it's just brilliant. It's poetic. Here's a level 3. He was bitten by a red-headed paper wasp. That's a level 3. Quote, immediate, irrationally intense, and unrelenting. This is the closest you will come to seeing the blue of a flame from within the fire. Wow. Okay, here's a level 4. And by the way, this is when he was bitten by a bullet ant, also a tarantula hawk, which is a kind of wasp. He says, pure, intense, brilliant pain, like walking over flaming charcoal with a 3-inch nail in your heel. Oh, Jesus. But, to the scientists who work with him, they said he was the most amazingly meticulous, serious, curious scientist. The king of sting. Actually, he describes being bitten by the tarantula hawk wasp. Blinding, fierce, shockingly electric. A running hairdryer has just been dropped in your bubble bath. Oh, my God. Oh, and then listen to this. Red and black harvester ants. Here's a quote from him. The black ones only hurt for 4 hours. So if you can imagine someone taking some needle nose pliers and digging underneath your skin and grabbing tendons and nerves and kind of ripping them for about 4 hours. And that was he starts it by saying only hurts for 4 hours, and it tells you the pain. And then he says, but the red ones, that goes on for 8 hours. You get the bonus, no extra charge. Unbelievable. What a wonderful character. What a great, geez. Justin O. Schmidt, age 75, the king of Sting. Can't beat that. You can't beat it. I want to, again, apologize to those of you who maybe are, wow. Oh, well, Milton, I got you on, he says, wow, talk about burying the lead. You've discussed everything but your broken leg. Well, it's the least interesting thing. I mean, after I broke it, I had the time of my life with what's his name? What was his name? Jordan. It's a J name, and his last name was Small. Oh, see, names not good. Not good. Whatever. I had fun. I was probably in shock. It hurt. I mean, I was in pain, but I wasn't bleeding or anything. I was bruised. It's interesting what bruises, my toe is still just black and blue. The skin has gone, it's just a panoply of colors, black, blue, a sort of disgusting yellowish tinge, which it pretty much is now. No, so I'm doing, what do you do? It can't be that bad a break, or I would be in a cast, right? And I have to tell you, I'd had a cast on this leg because of all the trouble with this friggin' left foot. Casts on this leg, I was in a wheelchair and crutches for actually, that's another funny story. When they first tried to deal with my screwed up foot, it would be about 1988, I'd say. And I went to the great renowned Freddie Fu, the orthopedist. And Freddie had already fixed a shoulder of mine. I am structurally one of the most screwed up humans you'd ever want to know. I mean, who still looks like I'm okay. And he never saw a foot doing what my foot was doing. And he called in his special foot guy, and the special foot guy looked and said, good God. And they didn't know what to do. But they said, we got to do something because it ain't going to hold you up. And I'm working as a TV reporter now and sticking, it was like a balloon at the end of my leg. So, and in a lot of pain. So that's when I had the surgery where they put like about 4 screws into that left foot, and to have all the bones, all the little bones just grow together around the screw and fused it, just fused the whole thing. Now, what that meant is my foot could no longer move. So for the last 40-ish years, I have a left foot that will only just slightly, it allows me to walk. It'll do that heel toe. Very, not a big heel toe, but a heel toe. It can't go side to side. And as such, it has created a lot of other issues. My then right knee went because it started bearing, this is what happens. It's the domino effect. But, I forgot. Where was I going with this? Damn it. There was an end to that. That was a side to get to someplace, and now I've lost my way. I know Milt wanted to know about my, I'm not talking about so I ended up, that surgery was horrific. And I ended up in a big cast to my knee, out of work for a little while, and then went back to work. The station had somebody pick me up every day, and I had a wheelchair. And then after the wheelchair, I had crutches for a long time, and I got so good on those crutches. If you're on crutches for a long time, and I was, this was months and months. I was really, I challenge you to a race. I was that good. But here's what I wanted to tell you. So it's almost time to to unveil my fused foot and get that damn cast off. And I had just come into my kitchen And it had been raining. I think my foot, it would have been my right foot, was a little wet. And I was hauling, I was going fast on my crutches through the kitchen, and I don't know what slipped. I guess the tip of I don't know. But the next thing I knew, I was face down on the kitchen floor, and my little black cat, Smudge Lemieux, was looking me in the eye. And I said, Smudge, I think I broke my leg. And you know what? I did. I broke the leg that was already in the cast. I mean, not a huge break. It was in a cast, but one of those hairline, I broke it. So I know from casts and like, this is nothing. They offered me painkillers. I said, "Pah, are you kidding? No, I'm in pain. I'm just pissed. You have something for being pissed. That's all I need." Damn it. So anyway, that's that. Time's gone. Imagine that. Hey, thanks for putting up with me. This is getting pathetic. Maybe I'll morph this into a medical show as I come apart piece by piece. I mean, I don't know. It's possible. So, whatever. There's that. And thank you. I'll be back tomorrow. Susan should join us. Susan. Oh, God. Anyway, yeah. Okay? Thank you. What a beautiful day. My son made sure that I could sit outside. He said, "You've got to get outside." I said, "Right." So I'm going to go outside today and sit in the sun. Okay? Talk at you tomorrow. Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.